So hello from Green-Mopeds in London. So today we're going to give you a review of this brand new Horwin EK1. Thought you might be interested to see it next to a EK3, which is its bigger brother, and just for comparison a Soco CUx. So hopefully I can give you some information about it which will help you make an informed decision. So let's get to it. So we've talked about Horwin before. Horwin are a manufacturer out of China. They do seem to be 4 bikes. These two in the sort of moped category, the EK1 on the left and the EK3 on the right, and then a CR6, which is a motorbike, and then something called a CR6 Pro, which is coming out shortly, which is a actual manual electric motorbike, so gears and things like that. Anyway, we're here to talk about the mopeds today. So as you can see, I guess the first thing to talk about are on the EK1 range, which isn't, these colours aren't available on the EK3. They've gone for these rather bright colours. There's this one, which I guess is an electric blue, which I guess is suitable for an electric moped. They also have a really bright orange, which you can see on our website. Then a sort of more traditional white, if you like, and then a red. So those are different colours to what's available on the EK3. There are also some other differences which in some respects I'm a little bit surprised about between the EK1 and EK3, apart from the obvious that the EK3 is a 125cc equivalent, or L3E as they call it, and the EK1 is obviously a 28 mile an hour moped category bike, but we'll come to those. So similarities, as you'll see from the face of the bike, the lighting setup is the same across both bikes. It seems to be getting more adventurous, people in general, with their lighting setup. You see the CUx on the right there with its sort of eyes, I guess, and NIU obviously with their halo, but these lights are on all the time. The running lights down the side there, which I mentioned wasn't working before on the previous EK3 review, that's just something we have to do when we get the bikes, and we haven't yet done that on this bike because it's literally just come in and we thought you'd like to see it. But yeah, it will have those running lights on the side, which are quite nice, I would say. Okay, so some other similarities are that it too has a different front size wheel to back. I'm not sure you'll be surprised about that, but what is different is if you actually look here, if you look at the caliper on the EK3, it's got 2 leads coming out, okay, and on the EK1 it has got just 1. That is because 125cc equivalent bikes have to have CBS, whereas moped category bikes don't. Okay, so they've obviously just decided not to do that. Okay, it doesn't necessarily mean anything other than with CBS you get braking power applied to the front and back wheels together, and on a bike without that, obviously it's going to be 1 lever for one brake and 1 lever for the other brake. Okay. Another big difference is actually at the back end, apart from the power. So this EK3 here has over 6.2 kilowatts of maximum power, with a centrally mounted motor and a chain, as you can see, which means it makes noise. This EK1 doesn't have that. It has back to the more sort of traditional setup with a hub motor, and in there you can just see it says 2000 watts. Okay, so that is its nominal power. That is the power that you will see on your V5 when you get it. Okay, that is not maximum power. That is on this bike 2.8 kilowatts. So we thought just introduce the CUx again. The reason being that, out of interest, this motor, which is a Bosch motor in the back of this bike, is 1300 watts nominal power, but 2.8 or 2.788 kilowatts maximum power. Okay, so on the face of it, you would say, oh, this one's more powerful than the CUx, but that's the reason we brought it out, is that actually maximum power between a CUx and an EK3 is not a lot different, maximum power, but what is different is the weight. So on the CUx, you have a bike that weighs about 80 kilos, 80 plus with a battery. On this bike, you're 92 kilos without the battery, and the battery's quite a beast, which we'll show you in a minute. It's actually, they did have a choice of bringing in a lower rated battery, a 26 amp hour, 72 volt battery on the EK1, but they decided to bring the same batteries in the EK3, so a 40 amp hour, 72 volt battery. That is more powerful in many ways compared to something like a CUx or an NIU NQI Sport, or even an NQI GTS Sport. So they've gone for quite a hefty rated battery, but 92 kilos before the battery, and the battery is going to be about 12 to 15 kilos. So for a moped, as in an L1E category 28 mile an hour bike, it's on the heavier side than others. The reason I bring this up is if you are thinking of maybe putting this onto a caravan, or sorry, a camper van, into a garage or on a rack at the back of your camper van, then you might want to think about that. Interestingly or not, it is 3 kilos lighter than the EK3. So it's 92 kilos, EK3 is 95 kilos without the battery. Okay, so that's that. The other dimensions on the bike are the same as the EK3, but although the CUx in the background is on its side stand, you'll see that the EKs sit higher, and that obviously is a reflection of the fact that they've got 14-inch wheels, or 14-inch wheel at the front at least, and a 13-inch wheel at the back, compared to what is typical on CUx's and other bikes of 12-inch wheel. Okay, so consequently they sit higher. Okay, here you can see at the back compared to two, again you've got a different sort of finish to the rear handle. This can be taken off and replaced by a rack, and then a top box. Other bits around the back of the bike are pretty standard, as you can see. I quite like the back end of these Horwins, I have to say. Okay, so yeah, dimensions the same, 1.93 I think it is meters long. Quite wide, especially if you were to compare that to a CUx. If you see the seat, it's quite wide, more substantial. Obviously the CUx has got a flat seat, which means you can sit wherever you wish. The EKs have a ridge seat, but they are quite wide, okay, which means comfort. And the reason for that is, as we've said before, the fact that they've managed to get 2 batteries, or up to 2 batteries, under the seat. Okay, so this is, as I say, quite a hefty thing. Okay, so as I've mentioned before, it also has these Gogori connectors, okay, which means that you get a good connection between when you're charging the battery, the lead that goes into this, because these physically clip in, which is something that's actually quite a good idea to stop arcing and things like that. But yeah, it is heavy. If you look in the manual, it thinks that this bike has come with a 5 amp charger, which means that it is saying it's going to take 8 hours, but in actual fact it's a 10 amp charger, which is basically again the same as the EK3, and that therefore means that this is going to charge in 4 hours. While we're here, so as I've said on the EK3, this is actually good enough for a large open face helmet. Might get a full face helmet in it as well, which is one of the advantages of these bikes. Not many, if any, really have space under the seat for a full faced helmet. So by putting the battery this way across the bike, then you can either get another battery here and not waste space under the floor, or not have such a low ground clearance. So if you were to compare this to, say, an NIU NQI, any of the N series, because they put their batteries under the floor and they are, you know, shoebox size, your ground clearance isn't so great. But because they've managed to get them both under the seat, then you get more ground clearance. Here you'll see again the same as under the EK3. You can charge your battery with your seat closed and locked, but remember that there is only one lead. Okay, so if you have two batteries, you're physically swapping the lead from here to here, or swapping them over and doing that. So that means that unless there's a splitter cable, which there might be from the importer, you will be charging one battery at a time, so 4 hours each. Okay, but with that you're going to get 50 odd miles. Okay, so as a standard bike, this one, it's 2,600 and a little bit, okay, after the grant, because this bike is on the grant. So you're getting your 3-year warranty on the battery and your 2-year warranty on the bike. So 2,600. Then you'd need to add on registration, what have you. This one is, the EK3 is more like 3,600. Okay, so £1,000 more. If you want to add a battery, another battery to these bikes, the battery isn't included in the grant. So you're basically paying £1,500 or $14.95 for another battery. Okay, you can sort of understand it when they're 72 volt, 40 amp hours, but even so. So that would mean that if you wanted a 100-mile range bike of this category, you're talking nearly £4,000. And on this one, you're talking nearly £5,000. Okay, which, and that's after the grant. Okay, there are other options available for that if you're interested. Okay, but compare it to a CUx, which only has 35 mile range, and that's 2249. Okay, so 2249 for a CUx with 35 mile range, 26 and a little bit for this one with the same maximum power, larger all round, more comfortable, I would say, for two people, 50 mile range. Okay, so going around the bike, you've got your pegs for your second person here. Okay, so that's that. Interestingly, this is where some of the differences between the EK1 and EK3 come out. So we mentioned on the EK3 review that you could use this to start the bike. However, it's not active on this bike. They do not have that active on the EK1. I'm not sure why, considering it's on the bike, they might as well have it active, to be fair. The other thing to note is that there is no alarm. So you've got your, if you remember on the EK3, you have this fancy fob and an app. There is none of that on the EK1. You sort of would have to question why. They're making the parts anyway, so you might as well almost just add them in, but that's their decision. So no alarm, none of the finger sensor starting, which, you know, is not a big deal, but the rest is the same, other than, of course, there is no noise. Okay, so you have your little activate button here on the right, and you see it's gone into ready, and you can see my modes are switching, and it's off. It's the same sort of noise as any other hub motor. Notice the little ring around the dash changes to blue when you're sort of getting to sort of maximum speed. Okay. There is, interestingly again, a little button here that says reverse. So you, just underneath there, you can see that R, which means there is a reverse. What you do is you press the button so the R comes up, and then you twist the throttle and it will go backwards. Okay. Heavier bikes tend to have this. Don't particularly think it's needed necessarily. I haven't used it much on the bikes that I've had with reverse. Down here you've got obviously standard stuff. So you've got cruise control. So if you can get to somewhere where you can activate cruise control, you've got that. It's got the ability to have the just like the EK3 actually. You see there are no lights on in the center cluster. Okay, and then you can put it onto full beam and you'll get all lights. As I said before, you'd be hard pressed not to be spotted on this bike with the amount of lights that are going on. Okay, so other than that, you've got a few of the other standard things. You've got this in there, which you might just be able to see, your USB port. It's unfortunate, I guess, a little bit that you can't have the lead running out of the cubbyhole to then have a phone with its power here. I can only see a way of getting to that by essentially drilling a hole. But yeah, it would have been good if they'd actually had the ability for a lead to come out, end up on here, so you could have your phone here for sat-nav and stuff like that. And then you've got your bag hook, etc., etc. Okay, so the rest is pretty similar to the other one. So it's got front and back disc brakes. It's got these nice sort of chunky, comfortable rear springs to make the bike sit well in rough conditions, I guess. And that's pretty much it. All in all, if you like this sort of style and you're prepared to pay a little bit more for a bike that goes a little bit further, as in if you were comparing it to something like a Super Soco or an NIU NQI Sport, which would be the closest NIU bike, because the NGTs have more power and they go faster. The MQI GT that's coming over is also more powerful, but still only goes 28 miles an hour, and it's a lot more money. So really your main competitor, or its main competitor here in the 28 mile an hour bike in this sort of modern style, is either an NIU NQI Sport for about 2.4, with a little bit less range, less power, but from NIU, which most people have heard of. The Super Soco over there, the CUx, less range, similar amount of maximum power, 300 pounds less. And then this one, unless you start looking at some of the other brands which we're just about to begin talking about and signing up with, which are a company called Sunra Robo, which we will talk about in another sequence, or from the Omoco company. They also have some bikes that will go into this category. So we'll probably bring back this EK3 when we talk about those another time. But for now, I hope that's useful. Obviously, when times are back to normal, you can come and have a test ride. But for now, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us, and thanks very much.